Medicine Farm outside of Corvallis, Montana, in the heart of the Bitterroot. Thanks for joining us today. Stick around. We're going to primarily talk about how is permaculture failing us. Really quick, I wanted to introduce Maria and Sister Marguerite, our alpine doelings. They're currently eating some Russian pea shrub related to Siberian pea shrub. We have it growing all over the property. I got them to graze to help combat some of the weeds. Currently they're in a pen because we're making sure that Mr. B, our wild BLM burro, gets along with them. In the next 24 hours, I'm going to be taking down this dividing fence. They seem to get along great, and start training everyone to electric so we can get them out to start grazing all of this. So I will cover that process, how to train animals to electric. That's very important. But today we're going to talk about how permaculture is failing us. So when I say permaculture failing us, I don't mean me and my wife, I don't mean my family, I mean the permaculture community. And there's a trend that I've noticed, and a couple events have really kind of brought it to my attention. And I want to talk about those and talk about what we need to do as a community to address this so permaculture can be what it is and trying to help shape our world for a better future. For those of you just tuning in, this is episode 2 of the Old Medicine Farm. You might recognize my face if you watch a lot of videos about permaculture. I used to manage ABC Acres in Hamilton, Montana. Left for Colorado, decided that I missed Montana too much, came back, and I'm doing my own thing. Right about the time that I left ABC Acres about a year ago, Curtis Stone did a video debunking 5 myths about permaculture. I never responded to it because I was busy packing for my next adventure. It's a great video, so check it out. However, it's not really debunking 5 myths. He's more just saying that people are misapplying permaculture techniques, and I would fully agree. The other things that made me want to talk about this today is I saw an Instagram post where a gal was saying the permaculture community was going to crucify her for it, but she was removing her herb spiral. She was basically saying that on her larger acreage of farm, she had more land and could produce a lot of the herbs that she was growing in the herb spiral in greater quantities in an easier way to manage and harvest than the herb spiral. The other thing that prompted this is I was doing some consulting for a friend who wants to put a food forest in her backyard, which is going to be an awesome project. I'll highlight that as things get moving, just to diversify what you're seeing on this feed. However, she, was saying, well, where do we put the hugelkultur? She's got a small yard, and hugelkultur just really doesn't fit her context. And I said, we can do it if you really want, but I'm not going to advise it for a couple reasons. And she said, well, then it's not permaculture without a hugelkultur. And so what I'm noticing is that there's a trend there's something lacking in permaculture education where people are getting caught up on the tools and not the why we're implementing certain tools or techniques. One of Curtis's critiques was that, people thought that they should be doing food forests on broad acres. And that may or may not work for someone's context, but really what's going to work more over a broader acreage would be a silvicultural setting, either alley cropping or silvopasture, where you have tree crops with alleys of either veg crops or grazing space in between the tree rows. The USDA has done a lot of studies in all climates showing that you get significantly better yields with both practices, but that better fits the context for a larger production farm than a food forest. A food forest is really more appropriate for a small urban backyard, maybe up to an acre or two. The management just gets really tricky when you have really diverse polycultures, and it all depends on the design. And so really what I'm trying to articulate, and I feel like I'm failing, is that permaculture isn't the techniques, it's the design science, focused on the ethics, or led by the ethics, focusing on the tenets. And because of that, each month I'm going to do a video highlighting those things, But the first thing you need to do if you're establishing a site or questioning what's going wrong on your permaculture farm or homestead is to define your context. If you want to define your context, it's a holistic management tool. I find it to be very empowering. Instead of shooting 2 new videos, I'm just going to recommend you watch these 2 videos that I shot when I was with ABC Acres. Once you've defined your context, then you can then say, okay, these are our forms of production that fit our context and design appropriately. And maybe you'll use swales, maybe you'll use keyline design. Maybe you won't, because you'll find that they don't fit your forms of production. Hopefully that's as clear as mud. Please let me know what you're thinking. Like, share, subscribe. Be back for more, because we got a lot of cool projects going on. We're going to get into the ethics of permaculture. The gray water installation's coming up in probably 2 weeks, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And until next time, happy growing.